Alright, let's talk about something that's stirring up the rugby world yet again. Former Springboks captain Bob Skinstad isn't holding back. From ripping into the sport's inability to create a global calendar to defending South Africa's controversial participation in Europe, his words have sparked a firestorm. And honestly, he's not pulling any punches. For decades, rugby's leadership has promised a unified global calendar, yet here we are, still waiting. And Skinstad is done being polite about it. We've been looking at a global calendar for 30 years. I mean, for goodness sake, if we had a global season for rugby, we would get the best players consistently playing in the best teams against the best players. But we don't, because we've got egos and backgrounds and different economic drivers and levers. He compares rugby's leadership to a dysfunctional family squabbling over holiday plans. A whole bunch of old men in charge of the game can't sit around a table and agree on a calendar. It's extraordinary. It's like families arguing about where to go for Christmas lunch and never actually getting there. How can a sport with so much potential fail at something so essential? South Africa's inclusion in European competitions like the Investec Champions Cup has sparked endless debates. Are they adding value or are they disrupting traditions? For Skinstad, there's no question. We punch way above our weight. We've got fewer rugby players than England, definitely less economic firepower to hold on to players, and we travel more than anyone else. Yet, we're consistently at the top of the URC and we've just arrived. Critics have argued that South Africa doesn't belong in Europe's rugby narrative, but Skinstad isn't buying it. I completely understand the reticence. It's like, who's this new individual in my playground? But the world's changing. Skinstad also takes a shot at the state of Super Rugby, and his critique hits hard. Without South African teams, he believes the competition has lost its edge. In Super Rugby times, New Zealand had it cushy. Everyone had to go to them. They had the bulk of franchises, the bulk of the income. When South Africa watered that garden, it worked. But when that water was cut off, they thought, we'll be fine. Now they're realizing the variety made it super. It's a damning take that questions the current format's ability to keep fans engaged and teams challenged. For Skinstad, South Africa's presence in global rugby is more than just a logistical issue. It's essential for maintaining the sport's competitive edge. You get to a World Cup and you haven't been tackled by a South African for 11 months. It's different, just to sharpen the knife, so to speak. He argues that the absence of South African teams has dulled the intensity of international competition, making the sport less exciting and, frankly, less authentic. Skinstad's message is clear: rugby's leadership needs to step up, or the sport risks losing its soul. Be careful what you wish for in the hope of short-term gain, because you could be in for long-term pain. The stakes are high, and Skinstad isn't afraid to call out the powers that be. The question now is whether rugby's leaders are listening, or if they're too busy arguing about their metaphorical Christmas lunch. Is Skinstad right? Has rugby's leadership dropped the ball on the global calendar and Super Rugby's evolution? Should South Africa's role in Europe be celebrated, or does it threaten to undermine the sport's traditions? Let us know your thoughts below. Rugby is at a crossroads, and it's time to have these hard conversations.